Okay, hi everyone again. I think the mic of the headphones isn't that bad at all. At least in my opinion, I think this was at least the best attempt since I started those videos. Um, yeah, so just let's continue with this mic. I think it's good. And second, I have to practice a little bit more um, my English pronunciation, and sometimes I think I can't make or can't describe some some things I can't describe in a way I would describe them in German. But we will practice it also. Okay, so today we will learn a little bit more about methods. Maybe the same way like the in a video about more about classes and objects, I think it's called. Um, let's find some definitions, two or three on the web, and let's try to do a simple coding example for those definitions. So, Java methods. What are methods? W3 school again. Okay, let's start with W3 schools. Very cool, this school. Okay, a method is a block of code which only runs when it is called. You can pass data known as parameters. Sometimes use parameters, and another wording for parameters is also arguments. You say parameters or arguments into a method. Methods are used to perform certain actions, and they are also known as functions. Why use methods? To reuse code. Define the code once and use it many times. It's practical. Create a method. A method must be declared within a class. It is defined with the name of the method followed by parentheses. We learned this word last time. Java provides some predefined methods such as south or left south, but you can also create your own methods to perform certain actions. Yeah, mm, let's take this sentence and good. Oops. Okay. Good. A method must be declared within a class. Yeah, so let's create a class first. What are we going to model today? I brought a jar with some cardamom seeds in this jar. Um, let's model this jar, and we can add some seeds into the jar, and we also can remove it. Let's try to model this today. So, oops, we got our, do I, in English, do I use C or cardamom with K, not with C. In English, also with K or cardamom, or is it different name in English? English. Okay, we see cardamom. Cardamom. Nice. Yeah, cardamom. Sounds good. So we got our cardamom. Cardamom. Nice name. Cardamom char. Um, oh, of course. Yeah. So we got our, again, like in the last time, we use classes to describe a real life object or real life entity like this jar. We make use of this class, cardamom jar, and with the jar, we add, with the jar, to this class, we add fields. Let's say fields from now on because last time fields one. Fields, we say we can add fields or methods to this class, and together they describe this class. Like, um, let's think a little bit about it. We can add cardamoms, we can add seeds, we can remove seeds, and this is the behavior of this class. And we also have to um, yeah, also have to define the state of the of this jar. The state would be the amount of seeds which is inside this jar, for example, in this case. So let's add some seeds first. Cardamom jar dot set, or let's say it's empty first, of course, and then we can add some seeds. We will add 5 seeds. Then we will print it out. Seeds, current seeds, cardamom jar dot seeds. And we also can remove seeds if we if it's in the morning like today and we want to make our nice chai latte, chai latte, or masala chai, our masala chai, we have to take some seeds. We will take 3, crush them, of course, and we will every time south we have to use south more often. Oh, digit D. I think D is for displaying digits. Cardamom jar dot get seeds. So we can use D instead of S for displaying digits. Yeah, here it's hinting, here not. Okay, whatever. Okay, so now what did we do? We defined a class, cardamom jar. We create an object here out of this class. We add 5 seeds and we remove 5 seeds. So let's create this class, or let IntelliJ create this class for us. Okay, now we have an empty class. Now we can add attributes and methods to describe this class, or describe this real world entity using Java code. So let's get back to the definition first. A method must be declared within a class. So also like here, we got our class main and we got a method here. In this case, it's a public static void main with one argument, and this argument is a string array of arguments. So you can, how is this called in Java? I don't know the exact wording. Attribute arguments, arguments. Yeah, whatever. We also will learn this later on, I think, those type of arguments, but don't need it now. The only thing you have to know is that, like here, you can pass, like in the last time, we passed parameters or arguments to the constructor of a class. And you also can, of course, pass arguments or parameters to a method. So method must be defined within a class. So each method is inside a class. It is defined with the name of the method. In this case, the name is main, followed by parentheses. Those are our parentheses. Java provides some predefined methods. Yeah, of course, there's some predefined methods like printf, printline, but you also can create your own methods to perform certain actions. Okay, so let's create a method inside the class cardamom jar where we can add and remove cardamom seeds. So create a method inside the jar, cardamom jar. Okay, so IntelliJ now created this method, public void add, and we want to add seeds. So now we got a class and a method add. Here again we got our access modifier. Yeah. I'm sorry. Sometimes also it's more when it's in the morning, but sometimes I really missed some words I'm using all day. Okay, we got the access modifiers and we got the return type, the type of the method. We got the name of the method. Oh, I think in Java it's lowercase. Yeah. Or Java method name lower convention. Let's look at the method name convention first. Method should be verbs in mixed case with the first letter lowercase. Okay, so in Java, you like here, you try to use a verb like add, remove, last time drive, break, and in the first example, the farmer chops a tree, also he chops. So using verb and begin with the first letter in lowercase, like here. If you have multiple words stick together, the first word is begins with lowercase, and then the other words begin with uppercase. So in this example, we just got add, and here we just got remove. So first letter is lowercase. It's just a name convention in Java. In C Sharp, for example, you would write, there's a different name convention. You begin with uppercase. Okay. The purpose is that you stick to those conventions so that a different Java programmer, that the code is also more familiar for a different Java programmer who also uses this convention. So to to create those conventions exist to create a code in a to create code in a way that it looks the same over the whole project, so that you don't start to mix things like one method uppercase, one method lowercase. Yeah, also for readability to use verbs. But those, if you're unsure about the conventions, just use Google again. Just use Google and stick to those conventions. It's really good to use such conventions if they exist. Okay, yeah, let's get back to our method. So now we got our access modifier, we got our return type, we got our method name, and we got the arguments. Of course, you can pass multiple arguments. What else can we add into seeds and leaves? We got a jar with leaves, yeah, and sticks, for example. Okay, you can use multiple arguments to pair. You can pass multiple arguments or parameters to a method, but try to keep the number small. One argument is really nice. Two arguments, zero arguments are really nice. One argument is okay. Two arguments also still okay. With three arguments, if you got, I personally I would avoid methods with more than three arguments if you can. So try to keep the number small. Use few arguments. Also because I mean sometimes you can't use few arguments if you have a constructor and you want to initialize multiple things. You have to use more arguments or yeah, there are also ways to avoid this. So if a method has really many arguments or also constructor, take a second look on that method. Probably a third and a fourth or also good. So keep to try the number small. Okay, nice. So we got our seeds, and here in this method we just want to add seeds. So we want to increment or modify the state of the object. So we want to increment the seeds which are already in this jar. Seeds plus equals seeds. So we increment the seeds which we pass using this argument. So we create a field seeds. Again, we don't specify a default constructor, and but we can anyway use the default constructor of a class. And so at the beginning it's initialized automatically with 0. But again, we can also use a default constructor to initialize it with, I don't know, 10, for example. If you want to say that from the beginning on, we already have 10 seeds, and if we add 5, then we will have 15. But we don't need a default constructor. So nice. Okay, our first method, we got then the access modifier public. Again, this method is available outside of this class and also outside of this package. Wherever you use this class, you can also use add. We have the return type void. Void means that we don't have to specify, or this method doesn't return anything. It's just doing something, and when it's finished, it's finished. We got the method name. In this case, it's add. Begin with lowercase, and then if you have to use more words for better naming, use uppercase for the other words, like if you want to say add seeds, for example. Yeah, but let's stick to add. And here we have our arguments. We got the type of the argument, name of the argument. This is our method body. It's called method body. There we are doing things. When we call this method with the dot notation using the created object before. The created object, or like last time we also learned that we can say to create an object, to create an object, or to create an instance. To create an object of the class cardamom jar, this is the object of the class cardamom jar, or this is an instance of the class cardamom jar. Okay, next line, we got our predefined method system out printf with two arguments here. First argument is the string, let's see how it's called, or format type is the format, or format, got the format in this case is a string, just with the text current seeds, and here's the placeholder for digits, for digits, percentage %d, I think it's for digits. And then we got a second argument, our args. This is also like this argument, a string array, or a string array, in this case an object array. It's called dynamic arguments. Variable arguments are those called. Those are, for example, variable arguments. So you only have to specify one argument, but you can make things like this. You can here we also have this method also consists of only two arguments, the format, string format, and one object array. I think we can object dot dot dot. Okay, it's a little bit okay. So the main really got a string array, and like this you can specify variable arguments. So okay, this is really a string array, and this gets mapped from the command line, or when you pass something to the jar, or to the jar which is created. If you pass arguments, then it gets mapped to into this string array. And this also, and here you can also make use of, for example, this is also a type of argument. This is a variable argument. How you can, in the code, there are also only two arguments, but if you call this method, you can, let's try it with cardamom jar, to specify it like this, like you saw it here, dot dot dot. Then we got an variable argument seed. Then you can make something like this, like add 5 and 4 and 5 and 3 and 6 and 8 and this is still okay. And here you got Isn't this a... Yeah, you can a stream. So I think you can work with this variable argument like with an array. So if you wanna get the second entry, so array begins with a 0. So 0 is, for example, this 5. Oops. 1 is this 4, and so on. So you can work. You can use this like an array to work with these arguments, but get rid of this. Good. So you also know variable arguments now, but let's skip them for now. I think it's good to know maybe that they exist. Okay, so we got our predefined method with 2 arguments, and 1 argument is a variable argument with this dot 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 dots. Now we want to print the seeds, so we need a getter. We want to retrieve the value of the seeds we stored here in this field. So we need to return the value of the seeds, the current value of the seeds. So we want to return those seeds. We can create a method which returns something which has the same type of this field. This field is the type int. So we want to return an integer. And we don't want to return null, 0. we want to return the seeds. So again, we got a new method. We got our access modifier, our return type, our method name, and 0 arguments this time. And the return type specifies the caller of the method, what type to expect as the return value. So the return value of this method is a value which, if you call this method, you can store the output of this method inside a variable, for example, or in this case we just use it to print it. So you get some value back, and this value will have the type of the method you specify. So this method can only return integer values. If you return a string, you will get an error, of course, because the required type is integer. You specified this is an integer, a return type of integer, but you provided a string. And you also get an error if you don't specify a return statement, because again, you didn't say that this method has no return type like void. You specified integer as the return type, so you also have to return an integer or some value which is of type integer. Yeah, I think also we forgot to mention this keyword. You can use this to refer to the current class. So this is this class, this cardamom class, and if you hit this, you will get the fields, the methods, and the predefined methods from Java from this current class. So in this case, we refer to the cardamom char class because we are currently this code, this block, this statement is inside the cardamom char class, and here we are inside this main class. Of course, you can also skip this if it's if you know that you here, for example, inside this method isn't another variable which is called seeds, so the compiler automatically knows that you address that you want to use the field which is called seeds. In this case, it's not clear for the compiler because again the argument's name is seeds and the field's name is seeds. So you have to specify it for the compiler that you mean you want to use this seeds, the seeds, the field seeds from this current class, from this class. You want to add the seeds you pass as arguments. Okay, now we got our method with the return type int. So if we call this method, yeah, you say to call a method, to execute a method with the dot notation, you will get a value back. And in this case, you will get the current value which is stored in this field. Okay, now we also want to remove 3 seeds for our masala chai. So again, we don't need a return value. We just want to alter the state of this class, and that's it. Remove, we want to remove seeds. So this.seeds minus equals seeds. Just, oops, a little bit. Oh, sorry. Okay. So we want to remove seeds, and after again, got our x modifier, we got our return type void, so we don't have to specify return or anything. Got a method name, one argument again, seeds, and we remove the seeds. We won't check, I think, yeah, we will skip this if we don't have any seeds inside, and yeah, return 0 or whatever. Or yeah, we have some time left, maybe. Yeah, let's finish this first. Okay, so again, we can call this newly created method cardamom jar object dot or instance dot method name with the arguments, and we will execute this. And then we will print the current seeds again. So let's debug this. And let's play a little bit around. During the execution. Yeah, nice. I think we implemented the jar. So yeah, we stopped here. So this line, we didn't execute this line. We stopped here before executing this line. So cardamom jar doesn't exist now. And if we F8 again, F8 is to step over, F7 is to step into. So we use F8 to step over this line. And now we got our cardamom jar in with the seeds. Now at the beginning, like we said, it's 0 because we didn't specify a default constructor and set value to something. It's just a default value. So our first method, now we can use F7 to step into this method. we call cardamom_chart.add with an argument 5, and you use F7, step into. Now here we got our 5, and it's 0 because we didn't execute this line, and we will add 5. So now after this operation, the current seed is 5. Okay, so south, now we printed our current seeds, and now we will remove it again, F7 to step into. An argument, in our argument we got 3, and the state of our class, we have 5 because we didn't execute this line, because we stopped here. Here's our current stop, and if we press F8 to step over, we execute this line, and now only 2 left. We removed 3 seeds from the 5, and now the state is 2. The new state is 2. Yeah, and of course, yeah, you can also use F7 to step into get seeds, and here you also see we just return the current state, the seeds, and if we step out, we will print the new state. Nice. I think we covered this definition, or is there more? Cardamom. Okay, let's recap. My method, yeah. Okay, we have a method inside a class. This is the name of the method, static. Those modifiers, we will learn those later on. But yeah, maybe just only short static, for example. There are also modifiers like access modifiers or those kind of modifiers. You can use, for example, a static method like if you need, or let's keep it for now. I think this will add a little bit more confusion. Now, let's. I think it's better to not to show any stupid example which comes in my mind now, just to show you what you can do with static, but maybe for if you use also a good example how to appropriately use static. Think about that, and in the next videos I will show you an example. Yeah, okay. To call a method, write the method's name followed by 2 parentheses. Yeah, to call a method, we use here, for example, outside of the class, we use object or instance dot method name. Inside of the class, of course, you can also call methods. You don't have to specify, of course, the object name because they're inside this class, and inside this class we use methods of this class. So we only have to use the name of the method. Of course, you can also use this, like with the fields. You also can use this with the methods, but you don't have to specify this. And you can also use methods internally. And a semicolon, of course. In the following example, is used to print the text. Yeah. This method here, for example, we have the main, and in the main, we just call my method. This method is also a void, return to void, so it doesn't return anything and just calls south. I could execute it. That's sad. Yeah, nice. Maybe just not that much time anymore, but maybe take a quick look at another definition. Maybe this one. Okay, here's an example of a typical method declaration. Public access modifier, double return type, calculate answer. Calculate answer. We'll practice it. Double wingspan, int number of engines, double length, double crosstown. Those are the arguments. Again, those are 4 arguments. Sometimes you can't avoid there's always a way to avoid many arguments. Try not to use many arguments. Try to use a small number of arguments. The only required element of a method declaration are the method's return type, name, a pair of parentheses, and a body between. Yeah. The only required method, yeah. So a simple method, you just need yeah, simplest. You can skip, of course, the access modifier, like last time we said, and you have, it's the same like true I protected, I think, protected int get seeds. So you only, if you create a method, you only have to specify return type, name, parentheses, and body. In this type, we need a return because we have int, but it's the simplest. It's also a valid argument. We just got 2 problems because here we expect to get something and we don't return anything. But okay. More generally, method declarations have 6 components in order. Modifiers, access modifiers, public, private, protected, return type, void, the data, type of the value returned by the method, the method name. The rules for field names apply to method names as well, but the convention is a little bit different. The parameter, here they call it parameter, but you can also say arguments, it's the same. Exception list, yeah, we will also discuss this later. Method body, yeah, this is the body. Between those parentheses. Okay. Yeah, there's also called something like a signature of a method. This is the signature of the method. It's the method name, parentheses, and only with the types of the arguments. For example, the method for the signature for remove would be remove and the type of the argument int. The signature for add would be add and int. The signature for get seeds would be get seeds. No argument, no type to specify. This is called the signature. Just also to know it, we also will need it later on with, for example, interfaces or abstract classes or such constructs. Naming a method. Although a method name can be any legal identifier, code conventions restrict method names. The convention method names should be a verb in the lowercase or a multi-word name that begins with a word in lowercase, followed by adjectives, nouns, etc. In multi-word names, the first letter of each of the second and the following word should be capitalized. Here are some examples. Run, like we also have add, run fast, run lowercase, and then each appended word with a capitalized letter. And like here we said, we can also use add seeds or add amount of seeds to jar, just to give you an idea how it should be, how the naming should be. Overloading method. This is a good point. We will also do this. Let's say one we have let's say we have whoa. Let's say we have some seeds and in groups we got 4 seeds, then 2, then okay, 5 seeds, then we have 2 seeds, and then we have 3 seeds. Or let's let's simplify it. You have 6 seeds and 3 seeds, and we every time we have two groups of seeds or two, yeah, let's call it groups. I'm sorry, a little bit wording problem. Okay, let's say we have groups of seeds, two numbers of seeds. We have 6 seeds and 3 seeds, and every time we have two numbers we want to add, so we add 6 and 3, 6 and 3, and something what what's of the seeds. So we also want to do something like this, like cardamom chart dot add 6 and 3. To model this, here we have the same method name, but a different number of arguments, for example. So we can, yeah, what could we do? We could add another argument, but if we add another argument, if we add, no, let's pretend this never happened. If we add another argument to this method, now we have two arguments, we break this method. And for example, if you have a huge program with where this method already is used already on many parts in this project, and you just add another argument, you will break this previous method call on many parts. We want to avoid this, so we can use overloads, and overloads is the concept you use to tackle this problem. So you can let's use IntelliJ to create for us, so we can create an additional method with the same name, but instead of providing just one argument, or to add instead of adding this argument to the existing method, we will create another method with two arguments. So now we have add with another method with two arguments with seeds. It's a little bit strange. The naming isn't that bad, but it's also a little bit strange to do this. Like first batch, and second batch. Let's call it like this. So we want to add to the seeds. We want add the first batch of seeds, and we, of course, let's make this like this. And we also want to add the second batch. So now we didn't break the previous method. The previous method is still working. We can still use it with one argument, but we used this concept of overloading methods. So we can add the same method. We can use another method with the same return type, in this case void, with the same name, but with different arguments. So we can use it with one argument or with two arguments. Yeah, this is called overloading a method, or using overloading, to use overloading methods, or to overload a method. Java programming language supports overloading methods, and Java can distinguish between methods with different method signatures. So the method must have different method signatures. So this signature is int, and this signature is int. So the signatures must differ. So this wouldn't work because those would be the same. Like if you specify same number of arguments, same type of arguments, Java cannot distinguish between those two. Also, if you use another naming, it doesn't matter which name you use. If you have the same signature, it won't work. You need a different signature to overload a method. Okay, this means that methods within a class can have the same name if they have different parameter lists. There are some qualifications of this that we'll discuss. Suppose that you have a class can use calligraph. Yeah, we also just did this example with our add. Here you also have a draw with a string argument, and you have a draw with an integer argument. Again, this signature is draw string, and this signature is draw int. This signature is draw double, and this signature is draw int double. So all the signature of each method differs from the other signature, so it's perfectly fine. Okay, cool. I think yeah. Overload the methods are different should vary the number and the type of the arguments passed in the method. The code samples draw string, draw int are distinct and unique method because they require different argument types, different signature. Nice. Same signature. Not nice. Okay, I think yeah, that was a little bit more about methods. And see you next time. Ciao.